Before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere, in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all are having a wonderful week so far. Hope everybody is leaning into fall. I hope y'all are getting outside more where you're at if it is not stifling hot and not freezing cold. I hope that you guys are getting barefoot outside in the grass and drinking lots of water and taking care of yourselves. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the very popular brand Abercrombie. Now, if a lot of y'all grew up in my time, which I was born in the 80s, so I grew up in the 90s. So if you are my age or older, I know you remember the hype around brands like Hollister and Abercrombie. Oh my gosh, it was all the craze. It was supposed to be like the most beautiful people worked for Abercrombie. And you know, along with Nickelodeon and a bunch of other things that we really thought highly of when we were younger, it's just like things have been coming out recently. Before we get into it, though, I did want to let you guys know, if you don't already know, hi, my name is Christina. I do have a second channel, which is Casually Christina. We just do things way more casually over there. I also have a Patreon. My Patreon's for 18 and up. And over there, we talk about more personal stuff. We go live over there. There is a $2 tier for all the true crime stuff that cannot go onto YouTube due to their terms and policies. That goes over on my Patreon under the $2 tier. Just make sure you read the full about section and what each tier offers before you join. I'm also on Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook, and I'm also on Like to Know It. And Like to Know It is a platform where you can find all the links to the things that you guys ask me about, things that I love, use, and like. Everything from workout gear to bathing suits to clothing items to cooking utensils to furniture. I mean, literally anything that I like or that you guys ask me about, I can just link it all over there. And all of those platforms are linked down in the description box if you would like to come and check me out. Before we go any further, I did want to stop and thank today's sponsor, Factor. Factor meals eliminate the hassle of prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. You can choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including very popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, vegan, veggie, and more. And you can also discover more than 60 add-on items every single week, like breakfast on the go, lunch, snacks, and different beverages to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. And if you're looking for gourmet meals with Factor, you can try meals that feature different premium items like filet mignon, shrimp, salmon, truffle butter, broccolini, asparagus, and so many more delicious items. And when things get hectic, Factor is always flexible. You can change your order up every single week with plans from 4 meals a week to 18 meals per week, or you can even pause and reschedule your deliveries at any time. I know for me personally, Factor is a lifesaver to keep me on track with my nutrition goals when I am in a hurry, things get hectic, or I just want to stay consistent. I can always reach for my Factor meals that are right there in the refrigerator, ready to go, and they're delicious and nutritious. If you want to try Factor, all you gotta do is go to factor75.com or just click the link down below and use code 50ChristinaRandall to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. Yes, just use code 50ChristinaRandall at factor75.com and you can save today. Thanks again, Factor. So, okay, let's talk about Mike. Now, before we get into it, let me just tell y'all that everything in this video is alleged. I don't know any of these people. I pull all of my information from very public sources that are already out there. I'm going to tell y'all the story from the best of my ability with this information that is already out there. And then at the end, I will give y'all my opinion. So make sure you stay to the end if you want to hear my opinion. So, All right, Mike Jeffries is an American businessman who was the chairman and CEO of the very popular retail clothing line Abercrombie and Fitch, and he was there from 1992 all the way up until 2014, just 10 years ago as of me making this video. Now, Mike was born in 1943 and he grew up in Los Angeles, California. His father, Donald Jeffries, owned a chain of party supply stores. Mike attended Claremont Men's College and the London School of Economics before receiving an MBA from Columbia Business School back in 1968. In 1971, Mike married his now ex-wife, Susan Hansen. While they were together, they did have a son. Now, although Mike and his ex-wife split, he did end up getting with his new partner, and this partner's name is Matthew Smith. They reportedly have 3 dogs together. In 1968, Mike joined the management training program at Abraham and Straus, which was a department store in Brooklyn. It was later rebranded as the famously known Macy's in 1994. And then in 1984, Mike founded Alcott and Andrews, which was a brand targeted for career women. The store, however, ended up claiming bankruptcy in 1989 due to overexpansion, and then it would go on to close down. After that, Mike worked in merchandise at Paul Harris, which was a Midwest clothing chain that also went bankrupt in 1991. And then in 1992, Mike was hired by the CEO of L Brands, aka The Limited. When Mike was hired, he was asked to invigorate the brand Abercrombie and Fitch, which was originally founded in 1892 and had been purchased by Limited Brands in 1988 after it went bankrupt. Hollister is also owned by Abercrombie and Fitch. So Mike became the main architect of the new brand, and it was rebuilt as this upscale clothing retailer for people of college ages. Mike admittedly built the brand around specialized marketing, which included using shirtless, muscular male models as greeters to the stores. Do y'all remember these guys at some of the malls, where they would be out there standing out in front of the stores with their jeans on, with no shirts on, literally looking like they were chiseled out of clay and made to look like that? I mean, back in the day, everybody wanted to be able to afford, I could never afford, you know what I mean, but afford to wear these clothes, and then you had to be able to fit into them, because I don't know if you know, but their sizes back then, yeah. Now, these male models were also used in the majority of the brand's marketing, including large advertisements and their billboards that they had for their company. And like I said, I'm sure y'all remember that Abercrombie and Fitch became extremely popular, especially for young buyers. In the early 2000s, as the brand's popularity just kept increasing and kept increasing, Mike was very outspoken in the press and made some what people would consider controversial statements. Some say that this was the beginning of Mike's demise. Mike once said to the press, "We hire good-looking people in our stores because good-looking people attract other good-looking people, and we want to market to cool, good-looking people." Now, this is not the only statement like this that Mike gave either. And mind you, what a mind twist because when you're wearing these types of clothing, you feel like you're in this cool crowd, right? You're in the Abercrombie and Fitch crowd, oh my gosh. I mean, the marketing worked. Now, given this, Abercrombie and Fitch attracted controversy from different interest groups like the feminist movement and the American Decency Association. And with that came a number of lawsuits. Back in 2003, Black, Latino, and Asian American employees filed a class action lawsuit against the company that claimed that minority applicants were discouraged from applying. But even with all of that controversy, Mike was doing very well financially as the CEO. I mean, in 2004, Mike reportedly earned $25 million. And mind you, $25 million is an incomprehensible amount of dollars to most of us, right? But back in 2004, it probably was $150 million or something. I'm just throwing a number out there. Back in the early 2000s, $25 million for a yearly salary is an insane amount of money. In 2008, he reportedly received a compensation package of $71 million. Now, keeping in mind that this was during the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008, and he received $71 million compensation package. We're going to get to all of my opinions. Y'all just keep following me here, okay? Because at the time, Mike allegedly publicly refused to lower or offer any discounts at Abercrombie and Fitch, at least until the store's sales had gone down for 17 consecutive months. Now, sales did recover by 2011, though, and Mike's compensation that year was estimated at just over $46 million, with most of that being from the form of stock options. But Mike's reputation took a huge hit in 2013 when he was named the worst CEO of 2013. Comments about looks and body and weight from 2006 had come to light that Mike ended up giving a public apology for it. And then Abercrombie and Fitch's stock share prices dropped 40% that year. On December 9th of 2014, Mike ended up stepping down as CEO after receiving criticism of the company's performance, with 11 consecutive quarters of poor sales. On top of his standard pension, Mike received lifetime bonus payments totaling about $1 million a year. Can you imagine lifetime bonus payments? But that lifetime bonus pay would not last forever, because in 2022, Mike was the subject of a Netflix documentary that focused on Mike's transformation of Abercrombie and Fitch and the lead up to the 2003 class action lawsuit. And it wasn't exactly a flattering documentary for Mike. But then several bombshell allegations started to come out last year in 2023. In 2023, the BBC completed a 2-year investigation into several allegations that Mike and people close to him exploited young adult men for sex. The events allegedly occurred in Mike's New York residences and at luxury hotels all around the world. In October, a few weeks after the BBC report came out, Mike and others were sued in New York by a former model under a civil class action complaint of trafficking. This former model alleged that Mike and his partner Matthew Smith would look for prospective men on the internet, provide them with money, substances, and promises of recruitment, and then would sexually exploit them with the understanding that their cooperation was the price for the job. According to the suit, these things happened between at least 1992 to 2014. It also alleges that over 100 young male models were possibly victimized. Now, just to throw this in here while you're thinking about this is just one brand we're talking about. We know about the Diddy situation. We know about the Jeffries Epstein, okay? We know about the whole Nickelodeon situation. It almost makes you feel like a lot of these big corporations use this power and this influence in order to do these things to people. It's almost like it's a big, giant, nasty industry or something. I don't know. Anyways, through his lawyers, Mike said that he would give no comment to the press about this lawsuit that was filed. But last year, Abercrombie did say that they hired an outside law firm to conduct an independent investigation after this BBC report came out, which I find it hard to believe that they had no idea about anything, but who am I, okay? Now, as if this was not bad enough, it has gotten worse. On October 22nd of this year, 2024, 80-year-old Mike, his 61-year-old partner Matthew, and a 71-year-old man named James Jacobson were indicted in the United States District Court on charges of sex trafficking and interstate prostitution. Now, according to this investigation, James Jacobson was employed by Mike and Matthew to recruit, interview, and hire men to perform for Mike and his partner Matthew. Now, just to throw this out there for a little tidbit of information, this James is actually missing a part of his nose, and he uses snakeskin to cover it. The unsealed indictment alleges that between December of 2008 and March of 2015, Mike, Matthew, and James used a combination of force, fraud, and coercion to traffic men while operating a prostitution enterprise. Again, just to throw this out there, if we have not realized, especially mothers and fathers out there that have little ones, teenagers, whatever, if we have not realized that our boys are easily to fall victim to predators as well, let this be another warning call. Everything is focused on our little girls, which we should protect, honey. Don't even get me started. But it's almost like for so many years we were looking in one direction while the fox was sneaking and into the other direction, if you know what I mean. Now, I will say that the charges in this indictment are just allegations and the defendants are presumed innocent until they are proven guilty. Now, this indictment alleges that the three men, Mike, Matthew, and James, used this coercive, I'm struggling with that word, y'all, and fraudulent and deceptive tactics in connection with their trafficking and prostitution venture. Now, I'm going to include a clip of the press conference so y'all can hear some of the stuff that the guys were accused of.
We're here today to announce the arrest and charging of three defendants. Former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, Michael Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson, on charges of sex trafficking and engaging in interstate prostitution. Powerful individuals for too long have trafficked and abused for their own sexual pleasure young people with few resources and a dream of securing a successful career in fashion or entertainment. The defendants would fly the selected men to Jeffries and Smith's homes in the Hamptons in New York City or to hotels around the world in such places as England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial sex. But beyond simply hiring men for sex, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson used force, fraud, and coercion to traffic those men for their own sexual gratification. For example, as alleged, the defendants employed a referral system and an interview process that did not inform the men of the details of the sex events before they attended, including the full extent and nature of the sexual activity that would be required of the men at these events. They caused the men to believe that attending these sex events could yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers. Smith and Jeffries employed a secret staff to operate these sex events. The staff ensured that the men signed non-disclosure agreements and handed over their personal items, such as their phones, before the start of the events to maintain the secrecy of these events. The defendants caused the men to believe that not complying with requests for certain sex acts during the events could harm their careers. The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events. And they required the presence of staff during the sexual activity and ensured that the men did not leave the sex events until Jeffries and Smith decided that the sessions were over. Also, as alleged, on more than one occasion, Jeffries and Smith either directed others to inject or personally injected men with an erection-inducing substance for the purpose of causing the men to engage in sex acts the men were incapable of engaging in or unwilling to engage in. Additionally, the indictment alleges on more than one occasion when men did not or could not consent, Jeffries and Smith violated the bodily integrity of these men by subjecting them or continuing to subject them to invasive sexual and violent contact by body parts and other objects. As alleged in the indictment, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson didn't just carry this activity on for a couple of occasions. Their sex trafficking and prostitution enterprise lasted at least from the end of 2008 until early 2015. During that period, the defendants hired dozens of men and transported them to New York and around the globe. They spent millions of dollars on a massive infrastructure to support this operation and maintain its secrecy.
Now, I can't get into all of the details that are in this indictment, but they are terrible, you guys. They are absolutely horrific. It says in the indictment, and this is just, you guys, a very PG version for YouTube friendly. So if you're checking this video, YouTube checkers, we're keeping it PG friendly here. But in the indictment, it accuses these men of purposely seeking out straight guys, okay, luring the straight men in, giving them injections and certain substances, and forcing them into male-on-male stuff, high-pressured enemas in order to clean them out, shaving them, all kind of horrendous stuff. And I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy, 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 crazy. And all three of the men ended up being arrested. I think it took way too long, but they were arrested. Allegedly because of this stuff, because they have not been proven to be guilty just yet. But we're going to get to my opinion at the end if I can keep it inside. Now, Mike and Matthew were arrested in West Palm Beach, Florida, and James ended up being arrested in Wisconsin. Mike ended up posting a $10 million bond and was seen smiling as he walked with his lawyers outside after being released. And by the way, a lot of people had problems with Diddy not being able to get a bond and him being able to get a bond, and they're saying because he's 80 years old, he's not a flight risk, versus Diddy's situation. Now, James was also released on a $50,000 bond, but Matthew was ordered to stay in custody because he's a dual citizen of the U.S. and the U.K., and he definitely poses as a flight risk. Now, attorney Brad Edwards, who is representing more than a dozen of the alleged victims, has spoken out.
So there's nothing consensual about it. These were aspiring young models who were sought out and promised to be Abercrombie models, essentially. They were all forced to wear Abercrombie clothes to events that were decorated as if it was an Abercrombie store. They were given an interview with the CEO of Abercrombie, that being Mike Jeffries, made to sign NDAs, told that if they ever disclosed this, that bad things would happen to them reputationally, financially, potentially physically. And then they were taken into a room and the most heinous of sexual and abusive crimes committed against them. And this went on for over a decade. The power disparity couldn't have been any bigger. And anyone at that time looking to be in the modeling industry would know that if they said anything about this, their career as an aspiring model would have been over. There was nothing from any of the victims we've talked to, nothing consensual about any aspect of this.
And according to a letter the prosecution filed in court, when witnesses threatened to expose what was going on, Mike and Matthew would allegedly use a security company to surveil and intimidate them into silence. And so far, prosecutors have not claimed that the company's resources or property were used in these alleged schemes, but lawyers for Mike and Matthew and James all deny any wrongdoing by the men. Now, if convicted of these trafficking charges, the defendants each face a maximum sentence of life imprisonment and a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years imprisonment. And if convicted of the interstate prostitution charges, the defendants face a maximum sentence of 20 years imprisonment. So what do I think now that we're here? I think, first of all, it took way too long. My first thought, to be honest with y'all, but this is just me with my little tinfoil hat on, is what did these guys do to finally get in trouble? Because you're not going to tell me after all these years nobody came forward ever until now. Somebody did something they weren't supposed to, and they said, well, yeah, guess we're going to have to let these charges go through. That's just my personal opinion, but who am I? But nevertheless, absolutely horrifying and disgusting. I mean, All of them. Let's let this be a domino effect. I hope every business person that ever took advantage of people in these ways, I hope they're sweating in their boots. I don't care how many billions of dollars they bring in. I don't care how much they donate to certain political funds. I don't care what they do. I hope they're all sitting at home shaking, going, are we next? And I hope that they are. Because I hope that this is a domino effect and it sets an example that these types of things are unacceptable. And I wanted to bring up the fact, and this is just my own personal view of how I think about things. When I was growing up, being these types of people, this was before the internet. So all we saw was ads, magazines, television, commercials, movies, that type of thing. All we saw was the handfuls of famous people. And it was like every singer that we saw, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, Whitney Houston, like these were the most amazing singers in the world. And these were the big stars and the entertainers and the people that we like looked up to. And these entertainers were like fed to us in all the commercials and everywhere that we went when we were younger. And most children dreamed of being on the Mickey Mouse Club or, you know, just different stuff like that. And then now we find out a lot of the things that was going on behind the scenes. Like even if you watch the Nickelodeon documentary that was on Netflix, and I can guarantee you, in my personal opinion, that's unprofessional, that ain't even the tip of the iceberg. What was in that documentary. That's just what's on Netflix. I'm pretty sure what's underneath the water of that iceberg is a lot more going on than we know about. But as we were younger, we were almost brainwashed by these images and by these people of wanting to be that, and it left a lot of people vulnerable. It put people in situations where they offered up their children to management teams and left them alone so they could become stars or music executives. I mean, you just think about the R. Kelly situation, the amount of people that dropped their children off in the recording studio for days with a group of grown men that were smoking, drinking, and doing the things that they were doing so their children could become stars is unbelievable. And it's like in so many of these industries, these things were going on. This man was married at the time, by the way, this Mike Jeffries. He was married to his wife and they had a son together. And he was over here doing this to these men, these young men that had the stars in their eyes. They wanted to be models. It's unbelievable. And then he gets a divorce from his wife and ends up getting with his new partner, and they team up. And allegedly, according to this indictment, they're doing this too and hunting out straight men too on purpose, which doing it, whether they were straight or not, is wrong. But the sickness. So again, my opinion is I hope that anybody that was involved in these types of things, no matter how much money they've been bringing in, I hope they're shaking in their boots right now. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Other than that, hide your kids, hide your husbands, hide your wives. Because these people out here are scary. And this man didn't get indicted till he was 80 years old. Lord knows what all really went on. Let me know what y'all think down below. Other than that, I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.